Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. That's audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health, and really without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. That's betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
The next time we play this game, I'm going to beat you like a rented mule.
Like all the other times you've beat us like rented mules?
Yeah. No. I think we're on.
Yeah, we've been on for a little while there. Welcome to episode 19 of Nerdery and Murdery.
I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your murdery. This episode comes out October 10th. You know, it's funny. I keep saying that, but I really think that's only for us because the people that are listening know what day it is.
Yes, they know what day
it is. Whatever.
Well, you know, they may be listening to it in the future. So, October 10th, the first year.
But there's still a timestamp on the recording when it
relates.
So
yeah.
I don't think I'll stop doing this, but, you know.
It's okay.
I just think it's funny. I did want to point out that Zig and I are both wearing our first merch shirts that will go on sale soon. Zig's got his yellow Nerdery and Murdery. I've got the red one on. William's got his black one over there, so those will go on sale soon.
Yes.
But I did want to say that it was funny. You and I have both broken Draws' rule. Jeremy Piven from PCU. We are that guy
who wore the T-shirt of the band.
But instead,
don't be the guy gutter.
We're the guys wearing our own concert T-shirt to our own show.
Wait, you're wearing the T-shirt of the band you're going to see? Don't be that guy gutter. Don't be that guy.
So I thought that was hysterical when I thought about that.
I haven't thought about PCU in years. You know what? We should do a show on PCU.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, it's like the 1990s version of Animal House.
Yeah. I did have one quick correction from episode 16 as I've gone back and listened. Several times near the end, I kept saying Michelle, but I meant Angela, because you remember there were two women. It was
Yes.
Angela Diaz.
Yeah.
And I kept saying Michelle when I meant Angela, so I'm sure that's really going to confuse a whole lot of people.
I bet they could follow along. Oh, I have a correction as well.
Okay.
In the episode 18, Jesus and Mary Chain, I said William usually sings of the Reed brothers and Jesus and Mary Chain. It's actually Jim Reed who usually sings and not William, but I can't tell them apart, so it really doesn't matter.
Well, honestly, I'm telling you, half the time I think I black out when we record. So
just do.
yeah, I just keep going.
Yeah.
I did. So we talked about that yesterday, and I showed William on Thursday that it's kind of obvious as we record, there are times where I'm very versed in what you're talking about.
Yes.
And there are other times I'm not, but I'm trying to at least let you know I'm hearing you. And so I'm sitting there, and it just makes me think of Wayne's World 2 with Harry Shearer as the radio DJ. So go check out that video. Anybody that's out there,
Wayne's World 2 radio announcer.
and just keep that in mind whenever you hear that.
Yeah.
I did want to tell you that I found. I went back. I had to go look because it was driving me crazy. I found the snail mail game I was thinking of.
What is it?
It's called Legends. And it was a fantasy-based turn game from 1986. And they would actually mail through normal U.S. Postal Service their turns.
That is so tedious. I bet it took months just to resolve combat.
Right. And so I wanted to tell you I did find that because it was driving me crazy. I had to find that. Another thing I wanted to mention is we hit a milestone.
Yes.
This week we hit over 300 downloads of our episodes, which is awesome.
Yes. Yes.
And actually, our 100th listener of episode 1 has even sent in a request for a nerdery piece to cover.
Yes.
And we are quite happy that we're going to cover it in future episodes.
Yes.
Upcoming episode.
Episode. Yes. I have already noted it out, and we are ready to go.
Outstanding.
We've got a few in front of it, but yes.
I'm excited for that one. That's another one that I think is going to go long.
Yeah, that one may be 3 hours. That one may be 3 hours.
I don't know if it'll go 3, but it's definitely going to be a long one.
Yes, sir.
The last thing I had, I wanted to give a shout out to somebody we know who also has a podcast, and it's a nerdery subject in that it's an obsession. It's called Bass Slingers Unrestricted, and they completely nerd out over fishing, all things fishing related.
Is this Wheeler?
It is. They're a new podcast just like us. They actually
right on.
released their first episode one day after we did.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So-
I need to go check that out. I didn't know
Well,
Wheeler had one up.
if you like fishing, know someone who likes fishing or want to learn everything you ever wanted to know about fishing that we're free to ask, Bass Slingers Unrestricted is where to go, and their blurb is, it's the podcast for the everyday fisherman.
Right on.
So wanted to give them a shout.
Well, yeah, I grew up on a lake, so fishing is in my blood.
I grew up many times on lakes over the summer, so I don't fish now, but I'm familiar with all the various things that go into it.
I only fish when I go down to visit my dad down in Hackberry, Louisiana. They've got a great little where it's brackish water, so they catch some salt water and some fresh water. It's a lot of fun. Plus, we do a lot of crabbing when we're down there.
Yeah.
My middle child, Chloe, can catch 50 crabs in 30 minutes. I've seen her do it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we all go home and eat them.
Well, so give that a listen if you want to. If you
I
want to hear
will.
about fishing, just like I said, wanted to give them a shout out.
Yeah, of course, because he's awesome.
And I mean, that's all I had. Anything new in your world?
No, nothing incredibly new. There is. I binged the new Leverage series last night.
Yeah, we started talking about that earlier. I've been seeing the ads for that, and it was the first time that I realized it was a series and not just a movie, because I assumed it was a movie. I'm excited to watch it. I loved Leverage.
Oh yeah. It's very, very Leverage. It's on IMDb.
Correct. IMDb TV.
Yeah, which is I think linked through Amazon. I think Amazon may even own them now.
I believe that is correct.
But yeah,
But it's a subscription service. You can watch it with commercials.
yes.
Or you can subscribe and watch it without.
Honestly, with Leverage, there's 3 commercial breaks. There's one at the beginning, one in the middle, and one at the end. So it's not that bad.
Yeah, I watch some things on IMDb TV, and I just deal with commercials. I walk away for a minute while the commercials go on or
yes,
whatever.
gives you an excuse to
Take
go
a break.
Yeah, go to the bathroom or take a drink.
Yeah, normally don't watch anything with commercials anymore. So it's just
it's so weird.
A little bit.
Sometimes I was like, oh yeah, right, commercials. I forgot about these.
So awesome! I definitely intend to watch that at some point.
Okay, you should give it a hard check because it's pretty funny and really good.
I wish they would bring back the librarians. I wish somebody would pick that up.
Yeah, well, Dean Devlin is doing this now. He might eventually.
He tried shopping it for a while.
Yeah, but no, he was like, man, we'll just do Leverage for a little while and see if we can't go back to librarians later, which they may.
Cool. So, if nothing else, if you want to start on the nerdery side of the house.
Why, I would love to start on the nerdery side of the house. So, this is another board game. Mm-hmm. It's one of the Milton Bradley Master Series.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I knew that would get you.
Geoffrey broke me.
This isn't the first episode I've broken you on.
No. Sort of like a pig over here.
And sorry I had to do that so early, but please go watch that video. Harry Shearer, Wayne's World 2. Just go watch that video.
It's really funny.
It's a short clip.
Oh, the great Harry Shearer.
You'll understand why that's so funny. If you're not familiar with it, please go watch that video. I'm gonna have to remember to put that as a link into the show notes for this.
19? Okay. Yeah, the Harry Shearer thing. Okay. So I wanted to go through the Milton Bradley Master Series on the strategy board games first. This is Shogun, Samurai Swords, or Ikusu.
Right.
I kept calling it Ikusuka, which was incorrect. Ikusu means battle in Japanese, assuming I'm pronouncing it right.
This one is the second least favorite of mine.
Really?
Out of the Milton Bradley Game Master Series. Conquest at the bottom of the pile.
Right
on. This one would be next. Because this is another one where I can't turn that key inside of my head, and it's not a world builder. You can't really build up armies.
No, not in this game.
No,
you got to start pretty. You got to start attacking pretty quick. Because I remember one of the first times I played it, my thought was, I'm going to get on this little island over here, and I'm going to start building me up a nice little base, and this is going to be awesome. And I got my backside handed to me.
Oh yeah,
because you got to start attacking right off the bat.
I don't know that I have ever won this game. I really don't think I have.
I don't think I have either. I have put in a decent show a couple of times.
Same with me.
Yeah.
But I've never. I guarantee I've never won this game.
No, I know. I'm pretty sure, and I know we've played it together with our boys. I'm pretty sure that Don and Keith have won this.
I'm fairly certain of that
at different times.
Which is funny. So as we talk about that, so Conquest of the Empire, my least favorite of these. Mm-hmm. I've never won. Mm-hmm. Shogun, my next least favorite. I've never won. Mm-hmm. Fortress America and Axis and Allies, I'm okay with those because
you've won them. Yeah. Yeah. Same with Broadsides and Boarding Parties. So I've won that.
Maybe it's my ego that has put those to the bottom of the list.
I really don't know. And Shogun, once you get behind, it's hard to get back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's really, especially like you lose a daimyo or something like that.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah. And we'll get into what all that means here in just a second. But again, it's one of the Milton Bradley Game Master Series. Shogun was designed by Michael Gray, and it was first released in 1986. I want to say this was the second, because they released them in groups. Like they released 3 one year and 2 the next year. I think this was the second release. It's part of the Game Master Series. It was renamed to Samurai Swords when it was released in 1995. That's the copy that I owned, was a Samurai Swords. I don't think I've ever owned a Shogun.
Something just kicked me in the back of the head, and maybe I'm completely wrong. Didn't they release, or weren't they planning to release a space one?
From what I understand, the idea was they were going to release a Civil War one
I remember that.
and a space one.
Hit the mic. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, I remember the Civil War. Yeah. So
Yeah, I want to say you're correct, but they didn't sell as well as they wanted to, so they stopped making them after 1986. Because I think the first one was like 84 or 85.
Yeah.
And then they basically everybody bought Axis and Allies.
Right.
And then
it's still a popular one to this day. Because they've got the as we talked about in a previous episode, they've got the variants.
Yes.
The various ones you can get Europe, you can get the Pacific, you can get I think just D-Day. There's the new Zombies one, which
I have
bakes my noodle.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's designed for the zombies to win every time.
It just bakes my noodle.
read the rules. They actually had. There's one that I would really like to get, but it's like $100. It is a 1914 edition of Axis and Allies. So basically World War One. But it's heavily involved in trench warfare. I think that's going to be a slogfest. So yes, so Shogun was released as samurai swords in 1995 because there was a James Clavell Shogun war game with similar themes that was released in 83. So they changed the name to Samurai Swords. And in 2011, it was renamed again to Akusa and re-released under Hasbro's Avalon Hill banner. So
and I don't think I've ever seen that version.
The Akusa version? I think Dawn has it.
I actually played it when it was Samurai Swords, but I've never... I'll have to ask Don because I've never seen that version. So
what they did was they got rid of the little samurai swords because they're really hard to read. And they basically got little chip counters for first through fifth place.
Right.
So the game itself is set in feudal Japan. It's for 2 to 5 players. That was one of the things we do like about this game. 5 people can play it.
I thought we had talked once that it was 6.
No, it is 5. If I went and looked it up, Conquest of the Empire is 6. This one is 5. Yeah, so it is 5. I was mistaken. I was thinking it might be 6, but no, I was thinking of Conquest of the Empire.
Because I remembered we talked about that at one point.
You take control of a fictional warlord and pit your armies against another's in hope of winning the title of Shogun. Each player controls a number of daimyos or generals who command an army, and other forces on the board represent militia and garrisons. And players also have the option of hiring the Ronin, and that is a pretty key point in this game itself.
Excuse me. I choked. I was today years old before I've ever heard Ronin.
Ronin.
I've always said Ronin.
Ronin. Yeah, I think it's actually Ronin.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it's been so long since I played this game. I remember that you could build settlements and then fortresses.
Yes. Yes. Well, I think it's castle and then a fortified castle.
Castle and a fortified castle,
yes.
Right? And so the castle and the fortified castle is where you can put a garrison.
Yes.
And then
actually, I think when you build one, you get a free garrison. I think it's a samurai and like a gunner.
And then you have the card in front of you where I believe you had up to 3 armies.
Yes, yes,
okay.
Yes. Yeah, the card in front of you with the 3 armies, and each one of them had a little daimyo with a flag on it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a corresponding figure, daimyo figure, that goes on the board, and wherever he goes, that's where that army is.
Right.
But much like Conquest, you can't really move your armies without using your daimyo. Now, if you lose a daimyo, you can upgrade one of your samurais.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you lose and I don't think you collect any money when you lose a daimyo for a turn. Mm-hmm. So it's really kind of harsh.
So in this game, did you? Again, so long since I played it, I'm going to have so many questions before I remember everything. Do you have an unlimited supply of military you can purchase, or was that limited?
No. There's everybody basically draws out of the military guys that you have.
Oh, that's right, because they're all the same color.
Yeah, except
right.
Yeah, except for I think your samurais are color coded.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the gunners and the regular fighters are not color coded. You just buy them. Like the Ronin, they're all silver. The ninja is black. You can also hire a ninja, and a ninja can assassinate a daimyo.
Mm-hmm.
I think they can also, instead of doing that, you can have them spy on what you've got in front of you. So,
and for the Ronin and the ninja, so at the start of every turn, everybody bids on what order they want to go
yes,
in.
except for the first round. In the first round, you figure out who goes first.
Right.
But after that, yes, you can take your money and bid on what turn order you got. Mm-hmm. That's where the samurai swords kind of come in. So the samurai swords in the game were these little plastic samurai swords with these little diamonds on the blades.
Right.
And you had
and
one
those.
Yeah, 1 to 5.
I thought those were very neat.
A lot of people would paint the diamonds because they're the same color as the blade, and they're really hard to see.
Right.
But yeah, they've gotten rid of that, and they're the turn order chips that they've got now are diamond shaped. Mm-hmm. So they kind of alluded to that. But I think the reason they went away from that is the samurai swords were kind of difficult to produce.
Right.
So, which is probably why they changed the name from samurai swords to Akusa.
Mm-hmm.
Or Kusu. Sorry.
Kusu.
Yeah, I don't speak the Japanese.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, okay. So, of course, you got the ninja. He's using as assassin or as like a spy. Your army can include samurai swordsmen, bowmen, Ashigaru spearmen, which is the regular army unit, and gunners. Okay, so and you use income called koku. It's derived from control of territories. And again, players try to destroy their rivals in battle and seize their territories. Some interesting features include the orchestration of armies in battle with the emphasis on the generals, and they gain levels much like a role-playing game. Mm-hmm. So your general gets better as you go along.
Right.
But if your general gets killed, you go back to the beginning when you replace him with a samurai. And I don't think you get any money for that general. And you can place Ronin basically all over. You can buy Ronin and place them in secretly. Mm-hmm. The game uses 6 12-sided dice.
Go back. You place them secretly?
You can place Ronin secretly.
Refresh my memory on how you did that.
You basically, because you've got cards for the territories you control. You turn your card over. That's where your Ronin is. When someone gets to it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But you only get, I think you only get the Ronin for like 1 turn. So.
Correct. Right. Because you have to hire them. You're hiring Ronin.
Yeah.
Ronin. I can't say Ronin. Ronin. And you hire the ninja. So you get that turn. If you want to keep it the next turn,
you got
to pay for it again.
Yeah.
Right. So you would have to strategically, if you're secretly placing the Ronin, you would have to strategically doing it, expecting that territory is going to be attacked.
Yes.
What was the benefit of the Ronin?
They were a way to increase your army because when you paid for Ronin, you didn't just buy one. You bought I think it's 4 of them.
Okay.
When you instead of buying one
and
samurai,
they were more powerful pieces.
They were almost as powerful as the samurai swordsman.
Okay.
And you didn't have to keep. You could buy them once. If you were about to your castle was about to get attacked, you could buy them and put them in your castle, and someone came in and boom, bunch of Ronin.
And Ronin historically were basically hired gunmen.
Yes, yeah, they were samurai for hire.
Okay, they were mercs.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then you got these little trays that were designed like Japanese fortresses, that you would place your money in to show how you were spending it. Now, how the game basically played out. For our listeners, is you had your little tray and you figured out what you were going to do on the next turn. You had a certain amount of koku, or these little Japanese coins, and you placed them in different trays depending on what you wanted to do. You could place them, you could bid for turn order. You could hire Ronin or samurai or gunners or whatever you want to do. Basically, you spend a certain amount of money and then you get to pick which one you wanted.
Right.
You could put that money into hiring a ninja. Or you could put that money into building up fortresses and stuff.
Right.
Like that. And that was basically it. And everybody did their thing. And at the beginning of the turn, everybody pulled the back of their little fortress off and showed what they had bid for to see, who bids for turn order.
Okay. Yeah. Now now that you say this, I remember, because I remember the cardboard, because it was like a trifold piece of cardboard.
Yeah. Almost like a Dungeon Master screen.
And it was like it wasn't an octagon, but a septagon, maybe. But it was almost like a little arena.
Yes. With your little tray set there. And
Yes. Okay. Now I remember. Now
Yeah.
it's all coming back to me. The little arena,
Yeah.
how you did stuff. Okay. Thank you.
And I want to say it's probably been 10 years since I've played this game. Easily.
It's easily been that for me.
Yeah.
It's been way longer than 10 for me. I'm going to go back 20.
Wow.
I'll guarantee it.
Been that long. Well, yeah, you said samurai swords, and it hasn't been samurai swords for 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've played Danza Kusu once, maybe twice. And it was with, I think, Don and Cree and Nate, and we played, and I got my backside handed to me again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course, as you will.
As we do.
As you will.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, that was rough. But yeah, again, it is one of those Ameritrash games.
So I'm going to throw this out right now because I'm sure by this point we have listeners that are like, good God, he is rough on him when it comes to these kind of games. So let me give you a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. That is correct, but the reason is because you are so confident every time we start a game how you're going to do. You tud and tud and tud and just beat us down so that beating you is so pleasurable.
Yes.
It's so enjoyable. And so when we get to lay the smackdown, it's just accelerated on the fun because of that. So
I will say the last Guys Weekend, Geoffrey threw a game just so I couldn't win. I got so mad. I was like, you threw the game so I couldn't win. Yes, exactly.
yes, you got extremely mad. I mean, seriously, seriously mad.
If it had been a point of you were trying to, win or further the story. No, that wasn't what you were trying to do. You were just trying to make me lose.
So I just wanted everybody to be very clear. I'm not mean to him. It's just I have to get past all the tutting, and so I have to have my little victory dance whenever he loses.
Yes, I do. I do tud kind of relentlessly, as you probably heard at the beginning of the episode.
So there you go.
I'm going to beat you like a rented mule.
Yeah. So I just wanted everybody to be aware that I am not the asshole I may be coming off on. I mean, I am, but
no, not really. Yeah, let's just say it is fair.
yeah. But
yes.
Very, very, very much so.
Yes, and when I win, I do a little dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But again, I honestly don't mind losing as long as I give a good effort.
Sure.
Like with that Zombies game, nobody was going to win that Zombies game, so I just nuked the board.
Right.
Because it was time for us to start another one. And we did, and it was more fun to play.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And we talked about we need to do another Guys Weekend soon.
Yes.
Everything opening back up because we've got several games that we haven't played yet.
Yes.
And maybe it's time to break out old samurai swords.
I would love to break out samurai swords. And I will say this.
Not that either of us are going to win.
No. But hey, if we place a good show, I'll be all right with that.
Right.
The map, much like the rest of the Milton Bradley Gamemaster series, is beautiful.
On the pieces too.
Yes, and the pieces, the little trays with the trifold cardboard pieces, are they're art.
Well, calling it a game master is not underselling it at all.
No.
It is a master of games because of the beauty that goes into it.
Yes.
Not only the fact that these games are beautiful, but that they are very balanced.
Yes.
And in order to win, you have to be a good strategist. You have to make a good strategy. You have to play well, because most of them are fairly evenly balanced. Fortress America is tilted towards America. Axis and Allies is tilted towards the Allies.
Yes. But only slightly.
But only slightly, because I have played many A&A where the Axis won.
Yes.
I have played many Fortress America where the Invaders won.
Yes.
This one is one that's not tilted to any one faction or another, so it's an unusual one in this. That and Conquest, there nothing is tilted towards one side or another.
No.
These are those are probably the two most balanced games.
You know what? I agree. I agree. Well, and like the troop placements for this game, it plays out like Risk. You take all of the little cards that have all the little territories on it. You pass them out. You put a guy on each card. You put a guy on each place. To show.
I never equated this to Risk. That's funny.
Yeah, it's you get the territories in the exact same way.
That's funny. I had never done that.
Yep. And that's how it works. And again, you can garrison your forces in any territory. You can garrison more in a castle, and then your army is moved by your armies are moved by the little flag guy,
the little general, right, or the guidon bearer.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, guidon bearer. That's what they are. Thank you, army. What was the benefit of a garrison or a castle and a fortified castle? What benefits did those give you?
Okay, so a castle, I think it gave you pluses to defense. A fortified castle gave you the same, but you got more in your garrison because when you bought a castle, you got free guys inside that castle.
Did it also give you extra money at the end of the turn?
You know what?
Because I don't remember how you got money.
You got money per territory. And yes, you know what? I think you are correct. I think you got it counted a little extra.
Okay.
But yeah, you counted up territories just like in Risk. I got 3, and it's this and this and this. But honestly, you don't get a lot of money in this game.
Well, I want to play again now.
Yeah.
Just like Conquest, I kind of want to play again now.
Yeah, me too. I would really like to, especially the Akusu version. The map is just as beautiful. The pieces are just as beautiful. Again, you don't get the samurai swords. But I wasn't crazy about the samurai swords because it was hard to read the diamonds.
I like the samurai swords. I thought they were pretty cool.
I think a lot of people who had it just took white out and painted the diamonds just to see them a little easier. Yeah, so I do. I really, really want to play this again, with the boys,
I do too.
Yeah, well, it's a 5-player game. So we could get you, me, Keith Chenoweth. He hasn't been name checked yet. I'm sorry, I'm cracking myself up every time he shakes his head. You, me, Keith, Randy, and Don, and we could play this, relentlessly. And have Keith or Don wipe the floor with us. Maybe Randy. I think Randy's won this at least once, too.
Yeah.
So.
I'm under no illusion. I think we play this. I think you and I lose.
Yes, but at least if we're thinking about it ahead of time, we can at least put up a good fight.
Sure.
Right on.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate the nerdery side of that. As always, I love the Gamemaster series. I'm glad we're covering all of those.
Yes. First.
Yeah, we've got one more to go, which I think will probably be a ways down. We talked about that yesterday.
We want to get some other heads on this one.
Yeah, and we've got some technical stuff that we have to work out before we can do that. So that'll be a ways down, but we've got some other board games coming up, which will be a lot of fun. So with that, then I'll switch over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
And this is about John Edward Robinson, the internet's first serial killer.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
He is recorded as the first serial killer from the internet.
Okay.
I got my sources from Wikipedia, That's Life, Vanity Fair, ABC News, CNN Law Center, Heavy.com, and YouTube, the internet's first serial killer. So we'll start off with John Edward Robinson. He was born in Cicero, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago.
Okay.
On December 27th, 1943, he was the third of 5 children.
Okay.
To Henry and his mother, Alberta, who was reportedly a pretty severe disciplinarian.
Uh-oh.
So, let's say it for the cheap seats that haven't heard it yet.
Yes, if you don't want to make serial killers, don't beat your kids.
I so wish that wasn't so offensive that we could make that on a shirt. But anyway. Henry, his dad, was a machinist for Western Electric, and he was a severe binge drinker.
Oh, no.
Later, it was said that John's mother did physically abuse him, and she also blamed him for the death of his brother, who got sick and died. So,
why would that be his fault?
I know.
She just needed somebody to blame.
She needed somebody to blame, and so she blamed him. He supposedly endured, quote, chronic and life-threatening violence, abandonment, and neglect at the hands of his parents. When John was 5 years old, his mother actually began beating him several times a week without provocation.
Just all this kid needs to be. He hasn't been beat in a while. Let's beat him.
Yep.
Okay.
It was said that she beat him severely. She threatened to kill him and told him often, I hate this, told him that she wished he were dead or never born. This is a terrible woman.
Oh, the wrong kid died, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That's really not something you tell a child.
Right.
Ever.
And this is actually in my notes where I put, if we've said it once, we've said it 1,000 times.
Yes.
So,
yes.
We've already said it. So,
yes.
Moving on. As he grew older, the abuse escalated, often leaving John unconscious or bedridden, and his mother would keep him isolated from other family members. So she seemed to really kind of single him out.
She beat him relentlessly, so much that he would knock him out and he would have to be bedridden. Mm-hmm. And he's how old at this point?
Well, this was as he grew older. I don't have a date on how old he was, but so he was born in 1943. She began the beating several times a week when he was 5.
Oh my goodness!
In just a minute, we're about to jump to 1957, so he would have been 14.
14. Okay.
But I want to kind of I've got to jump back before I get to 57. This is something I didn't understand. She beat him, but she forced him to become a teenage star, a performer. And I just don't understand this. Beat your kid and then force him to perform. I mean, was it just to put the spotlight on herself?
Probably. Yeah, a lot of those stage moms are pretty horrible people.
So in 1957, John became an Eagle Scout. And he got to travel to London with a group of scouts to sing in front of Queen Elizabeth II at London's Palladium.
Oh, wow.
So she forced him into this.
She forced him into becoming an Eagle Scout and singing at the Palladium? Mm-hmm.
Wow. He even ran into movie star Judy Garland.
Oh, nice.
Backstage. It was reported that she kissed John on the cheek and said, "We Americans got to stick together."
Right on.
And this made big news in Chicago.
Nice.
Neighbors.
Well, of course.
Later that year, John enrolled at the Quigley Preparatory Seminary in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And this was a private boys' school for aspiring priests.
Okay.
He would, though, drop out after 1 year due to disciplinary issues.
Right on. He had a problem acting out because he'd been beaten since he was 5?
A little bit.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Huh.
In 1961, he enrolled at Morton Junior College in Cicero to become a medical x-ray tech.
Okay.
He'd drop out of here after 2 years.
Uh-huh.
So, problem staying with it. In 1964, he moved to Kansas City and married Nancy Jo Lynch. They would have their first child, John Jr., in 1965.
Okay.
Followed in 1967 by a daughter, Kimberly, and then twins Christopher and Christine in 1971.
Okay.
So I want you to remember Nancy and the kids.
Okay.
The reason I want you to remember him, because they're going to go away from this story for a while.
So there's 5 kids, right?
5.
Because there's twins, the first 2 twins, and then another one?
Child, daughter, twins, 4.
4. Okay. All right.
4 and then Nancy, the wife.
Okay.
So, yeah, because I remember as I was going through here, you really don't hear anything about Nancy and the kids for a very, very long time, and then suddenly Nancy's back in. So just remember that they're out.
Okay. Nancy and the 4 kids.
Uh-huh. So in 1969, in Kansas City, John would be arrested for the first time.
Okay.
He had embezzled $33,000. This is 1969.
Oh, that's a lot of money in 1969. Well, hey, if you compare it to the late 70s, that's 4-1.
Right.
Yeah.
As we found out.
Yes.
$33,000 from the medical practice of Dr. Wallace Graham, where he worked as an x-ray tech using forged credentials. Because remember, he didn't graduate. He dropped out. So, yeah, he ended up getting sentenced to 3 years of probation for this. In 1970, he violated his probation by moving back to Chicago without his probation officer's permission.
Okay.
And he took a job at the R.B. Jones Company as an insurance salesman.
Okay.
In 1971, he got arrested again for embezzling funds.
Embezzling money.
And he was ordered back to Kansas City, where his probation was extended.
Okay.
I'm sorry, eye roll, because I know what's coming up. He just keeps getting extended and extended. It's going to get extended again in 1971, where he was arrested on charges of security fraud and mail fraud in connection with a phony medical consulting company he had formed in Kansas City.
Oh, wow.
I know this guy's a gem. During this time, so John was cultivating and maintaining the outward appearance of a community-minded citizen and family man. So this is where, I talked about Nancy and the kids. The reason I want you to remember them, that they're out there, is because as we go through this story, I want you to think about how in the world he was getting away with what he gets away with a family sitting out there.
Yeah.
It's amazing because he was acting like he was a dedicated man. He became a scoutmaster.
Okay.
A baseball coach and a Sunday school teacher.
Okay. Also an embezzler.
And right. Well, I mean, he was an upstanding citizen.
Yeah.
He was one of the community upstanding
sociopaths always seek out positions of authority.
Yeah. In 1977,
particularly moral authority.
I love this guy at some point. At some certain points, in 1977, he talked his way onto the board of directors of a local charitable organization. He would forge a series of letters from its executive director to the mayor of Kansas City and from the mayor to other civic leaders, commending John's generous volunteer efforts and singing his praises. He eventually had himself named the organization's Man of the Year and threw a festive awards luncheon in his honor. This guy's a con man.
Yeah. Wow.
He completed probation in 1979.
Okay.
And was arrested in 1980.
Yeah.
For multiple charges of embezzlement, check forgery, and it landed him in jail for 60 days in 1982.
60 days?
This is not his first arrest on this. This is not his second arrest.
It's like his fourth.
He's had multiple arrests, multiple probation, and he got 60 days.
This is a felony. Multiple felonies.
Should be. But soon after his release...
Sorry, I need to say something.
Go ahead.
That's it.
All right, yeah, I'm with you. Soon after his release, he formed a fake hydroponics business and swindled $25,000 from a friend, promising a fast investment return so he could pay for his wife's dying health care. Yeah.
Is his wife actually dying?
No.
Yeah, okay.
No,
Right.
Nancy's not at all.
Nancy's fine. Okay, right on.
John also began sexually propositioning his neighbor's wife, which caused a fistfight with the husband.
I'll bet.
And then he also joined a secret sadomasochism. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes,
sadomasochism cult called the International Council of Masters. Here he allegedly became its slave master, whose duties included luring victims to gatherings of the cult to be tortured and raped by cult members.
Okay, I would like to go out on a limb and say most of the people in the S&M community are not bad folks.
Yeah, I have no idea.
They're it's all consensual. It's all everybody is down for the game ahead of time. They contact each other. They're usually in groups. This is kind of uncommon. So I just want to say that because I don't want to. I don't want to. They get enough stigma as it is. Most of those people, that's just what they're into. That's what they like.
Well,
that's what their partners like.
Right. And I do know that, for the up and up ones, it's consensual.
Exactly.
They agree to be either the submissive person or the aggressor.
Yeah.
And it's an agreement.
Yes.
A lot of them sign contracts.
Yes.
This will happen.
Okay.
Here.
Okay.
So
All
there
right.
will
I'm with
be
you.
some contracts.
Just wanted to get that out of the way.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. In 1984, John started 2 more fraudulent shell companies. This was Equiplus and Equi2, and he hired Paula Godfrey to work as a sales representative.
Okay.
Paula told her family and friends that John was sending her away to Texas for some training, and then her parents heard nothing from her again.
Oh.
They filed a missing persons report. The police did question John, who denied any knowledge as to her whereabouts.
Yeah.
Several days later, Paula's parents received a typewritten letter with Paula's signature on the bottom. The letter thanked John for his help, said she was okay, and didn't want to see her family.
Okay.
There were other letters that said, "Oh, I'm okay. I'm fine. You don't need to worry about me." Since Paula was of legal age and there was no evidence of wrongdoing,
you can do about it. Yeah.
the missing person investigation was terminated, and no trace of Paula has ever been found.
Oh, wow.
In 1985, John assumed the name of John Osborne, and he met Lisa Stassi and her 4-month-old daughter Tiffany at a women's shelter in Kansas City. This is almost the most heartbreaking of all of them. Is this one? So he had started the Kansas City outreach program supposedly to help women down on their luck.
Yeah.
And he actually went to several shelters and hospitals telling social workers about the program. But what he was doing, he was looking for his next victim.
Yeah.
There was one such person, Karen Gaddis, that was a social worker, that was told the program worked with young pregnant women or women with newborns to help them get back on their feet and find a place to live.
Okay.
So in theory, it sounded good.
Yeah.
But yeah, John promised Lisa a job in Chicago, an apartment, daycare for the baby. Mm-hmm. And, all he asked for in return was that she sign several sheets of blank stationery.
Of course he did.
And as I went through this, I'm going to talk more about this another time. I'm not victim shaming.
No, of course not.
But I just don't understand. And I wasn't in her place.
No.
She was down in her luck. She had a baby. She needed a new life. Maybe she thought, you know what's so bad about signing a few sheets of paper? If that's what I've got to do to get a job, an apartment, take care of my kids. So
yeah, right on. Yeah.
It's just terrible.
That's easy.
She did, however, call her family before signing these papers.
Yeah.
And according to her mother-in-law, Betty, Lisa was crying hysterically and told them she had to sign 4 pieces of paper. So again, as we're talking about, this may be her only way out. And so,
yeah. But at least she had the forethought to go, hey, this guy's having me sign these blank pieces of paper.
Right. And her mom said that she said, don't sign nothing. And this is a quote from her, don't sign nothing. And she was just crying. And then she finally settled down and she says, here they come now, she said, and she hung up the phone. And that was the last time I heard from her.
Wow.
The family did receive a letter supposedly from Lisa that said, I want to thank you for all of your help. I've decided to get away from this area and try to make a good life for me and Tiffany.
Right on.
Later on, Lisa's mother, Pat Sylvester, said that Lisa was not a big letter writer and she couldn't type enough to write a letter.
Oh, okay.
A few days later, John contacted both his brother and sister-in-law, Don and Helen Robinson, who had been able to adopt a baby through traditional channels. And John said he knew of a baby whose mother had committed suicide.
Oh.
And for $5,500 in legal fees, Don and Helen received Tiffany and a set of authentic appearing adoption papers with the forged signatures of 2 lawyers and a judge. And Lisa Stassi was never heard from again.
Wow.
In 1987, John hired Catherine Clampett, who had left her child with her parents in Wichita Falls, Texas, and moved to Kansas City looking for work.
Okay.
John promised her extensive travel and a new wardrobe for taking the job. Catherine then vanished in June of 1987, and her missing persons case remains open to this day.
Oh, wow.
From 1987 to 1983, John was put in jail in Kansas and then Missouri on multiple fraud convictions.
So 87 to 93?
87 to 93,
Okay.
and parole, multiple fraud convictions and parole violations. So about time. We have some jail time here. However, while he was in the Western Missouri Correctional Facility, he met 49-year-old Beverly Bonner, who was the prison librarian.
Okay.
She was also married to the prison doctor.
Okay.
And when John was released from prison, Beverly left her husband, divorced him, and moved to Kansas City to be with John.
Huh.
Where's Nancy?
Yeah, where are Nancy and the kids? What happened to Nancy and the kid? Well, you know what? Maybe she divorced him when he finally went to prison.
Not this time.
What? So he's also a polygamist, apparently.
Well, he's not married. He's not married to these women.
Okay. Right on. Okay.
Yet.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then John arranged for Beverly's nearly $1,000 a month alimony checks to be forwarded to a Kansas City P.O. box. And her family never heard from her again.
Never heard from her again.
Beverly's mother actually continued forwarding Beverly's alimony checks for several years, and John continued cashing them.
Wow. What a piece of crap.
So while John was in prison, he discovered he had a talent for computers.
Did he?
And he's now discovered the internet and started roaming various social networking sites using the name Slave Master.
Okay.
He set up 5 computers in his house to start hunting online for women.
Oh, wow.
He was looking for women who enjoyed playing the submissive partner role during sex.
Okay.
He would troll the BDSM site websites for hours.
Okay.
And his first early online correspondent was Sheila Faith, who was 45 years old. This is another pretty sad one. Sheila had a 15-year-old daughter who was wheelchair bound because of spina bifida.
Okay.
And John portrayed himself as a wealthy businessman and philanthropist and offered to pay Debbie's medical expenses and give Sheila a job. Debbie was her daughter.
Yeah.
I forgot to write that down. And give Sheila a job. So Sheila and her daughter moved from Fullerton, California to Kansas City in 1994 and immediately disappeared.
Both of them.
Yep.
Okay.
Sheila's pension checks were cashed by John for the next 7 years, netting him over $80,000.
In 1994, nobody caught this? Okay. All right.
Yep.
Well, yeah, 94 up to 2001. Okay. All right.
He was becoming very, very well known in the BDSM online chat rooms. And in 1999, he offered a job and bondage relationship to Isabella Lewicka, who was a 21-year-old Polish immigrant who was living in Indiana.
Okay.
Isabella moved to Kansas City, and John immediately gave her an engagement ring.
Of course.
Took her to the county registrar and paid for a marriage license, which was never picked up.
Okay.
Again, John is still married to Nancy at this time.
Yes.
That's when I put a note in here for myself. Remember her?
Yeah.
Remember Nancy?
Yes. Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy and the kids?
So Isabella told her parents that she was married, but she never told them her husband's name.
Okay.
And she signed a 115-item slave contract.
Okay.
Contract I talked about.
Yeah.
That gave John total control over every aspect of her life, including bank accounts. She disappeared in August of 1999.
Okay.
John did tell a web designer he employed that she had been caught smoking marijuana and deported.
Okay.
So, around the time Isabella disappeared, John had convinced a licensed nurse, practical nurse, named Suzette Troughton, to move from Michigan to Kansas, and he told Suzette that she would travel the world with him as a sex slave.
Okay.
John wanted her to be a companion and nurse for his elderly father. and his elderly dying father. But John's father had actually been dead for over 10 years.
Yeah, long time.
Suzette's mother received several typed letters signed by her daughter.
Of course she did.
And supposedly mailed while she was abroad.
Yeah.
However, the envelopes all had Kansas City postmarks.
Yeah. So, yeah. And not international stamps or international envelopes, because those are different.
Yeah. Suzette's mother also said that the letters were uncharacteristically mistake-free. She said everything was spelled right, which it normally wasn't. However, she did misspell one of her dog's names. And this is apparently something she would not do. She was apparently just enthralled with these dogs and would go nowhere without these dogs. If I remember right, they're Pekingese, and they come into play a little while later. John later told Suzette's mother that Suzette had run off with an acquaintance after stealing money from John.
Oh, okay. Oh, she stole money. Okay, right on. Okay.
So it was sometime during 1999. John has now attracted the attention of police. Finally.
Hey! Well, I mean, he went to prison for 6-7 years, and what 7-8 felonies on his record.
Yeah, and what they said is he started becoming careless and progressively getting poorer at covering his own tracks.
Yeah. He probably at this point thinks no one will ever catch me.
Yeah, I think so. I think he probably got too much of an ego. Authorities in Kansas and Missouri were now seeing John's name coming up more and more in missing persons investigations.
Yep.
And Suzette's mother, Carolyn Troughton, told police to find her daughter's beloved Pekingese dogs, Pika and Harry. She said, again, as I said earlier, she'd never go anywhere without the dogs.
Without the Pekingeses.
The police discovered the two dogs abandoned at a trailer park where John lived. And one of the detectives called Pika by name, and the dog's ears perked up and started wagging its tail before running the detective. So it, definitely her dog. So this made police begin following John and watching his every move, including trips to a 16-acre area of property he owned in Lynn County, Kansas.
Okay.
John was actually arrested at the Santa Barbara Estates Mobile Home Park in Olathe, Kansas.
Okay.
Where he and Nancy lived.
Okay. Oh, so yeah, Nancy was still with him.
Nancy was still with him. And the reason they arrested him because a woman filed a sexual battery complaint against him. And another charge because he stole $500 worth of sex toys. What the actual hell?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the theft charge gave police probable cause to get search warrants for the farm. Okay. The search warrant task force found the decaying bodies of 2 women in 2 85-pound chemical drums.
Okay.
These were later identified as Isabella and Suzette.
Okay. So, at least we found them.
And it also led them to investigate 2 garages that John had rented at a storage facility across the state line in Raymore, Missouri. There were 3 more chemical drums found with corpses inside, and these were Beverly, Sheila, and Sheila's daughter, Debbie. All 5 women were killed by 1 or more blows to the head with a blunt instrument. Okay. Police got search warrants for John's house after this and his office, where they found several blank letters with Suzette's signature at the bottom.
Of course.
The letters looked exactly like the ones the families of the missing women got in the mail. And they also found a photocopy of a receipt from a Roadway Inn from 1985 that had Lisa Stassi's name on it.
Oh.
So John went on trial in 2002 in Kansas for the murders of Suzette, Isabella, and Lisa, along with multiple lesser charges. He was convicted on all counts on October 29th, 2002, and sentenced to death in January 2003. He received the death sentence for Suzette and Isabella and life imprisonment for Lisa's murder. Her murder was actually the reason it was only life imprisonment. Her murder happened before Kansas had reinstated the death penalty.
Okay.
He also received a 5 to 20 year prison sentence for interfering with the parental custody of Lisa's baby, 20 and a half years for kidnapping Suzette, and 7 months for theft.
So he's got a lot of charges. He's going to be, if they don't kill him, he's going to be in there
forever.
Right. He's going out feet first.
Police did receive a tip that John's brother Donald and his wife adopted a child in the 80s. Remember this?
Yeah. Which they thought was on the up and up.
They thought it was on the up and up, so they spoke with the couple, and police took the adoption papers as well as fingerprints, footprints, and DNA samples. Mm-hmm. And the DNA samples confirmed the 15-year-old Heather Tiffany Robinson was indeed Tiffany Stacy, Lisa's daughter.
Okay. What happened to her? Was she allowed to stay with her family?
So she actually told her story on That's Life, and it's really, really worth the read. So there will be a link on the show notes for this. Go read it. It's well worth the read. She goes about how she found out who she really was, meeting her family, meeting the family she never knew she had, and the difficulties she's gone through since.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming. Okay. Well, I don't know that. I'm hoping that the brother and the brother's wife were good to her and that treated her like their own kid.
They were.
Okay.
They were.
Oh, thank God.
But she did say, she told 2020 that anytime she was around her Uncle John, quote unquote, quote, he always gave me this really weird, off-putting feeling in the pit of my stomach. It's like walking down a dark alley in the middle of the night while you know someone's behind you, approaching you closer and closer. Well, you just felt that dread drop right in your stomach.
Well, she probably witnessed him kill her mother, but she just can't remember it because she was 4 months old. Yeah.
Paul Morrison was the prosecutor on the case in Kansas, and there were more than 23,000 pages of police reports and more than 100 witnesses.
Okay.
There were about 18 hammers recovered from John's property that were sent to a lab, but technicians weren't able to determine which hammers were the murder weapons.
Okay.
In Missouri, Chris Koster prosecuted the case on the Missouri side, and he faced pressure to make a plea deal as the case was not technically airtight. Mm-hmm. There was no unequivocal evidence that any of the murders had actually been committed within his jurisdiction.
Oh, okay. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
John was also not cooperating with finding the other women.
I'll bet not.
No. So, in a very carefully scripted plea in October 2003, John acknowledged that Koster had enough evidence to convict him of capital murder for the deaths of Paula Godfrey, Catherine Clampett, Beverly Bonner, and Sheila and Debbie Faith. For this, John received a life sentence without possibility of parole for each of the
in
5
Missouri
murders.
After he serves time in Kansas. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In November 2015, the Kansas City Supreme Court vacated the Susan Troughton and Lisa Stassi murder convictions on technicalities, but upheld the Isabel Lewicka conviction and its death sentence. This ruling is the first time that the Kansas highest court has upheld a death sentence since the reinstatement of capital punishment there in 1994.
Wow. Okay.
In 2015, Nancy Robinson filed for divorce.
Oh, okay.
After 41 years of marriage.
Wow.
She cited incompatibility and irreconcilable differences.
Yeah, I'll bet.
So here's where we're going to come back to Nancy, because I wanted to talk about her for a while, because, as I went through this, that was the thing that was really baking my noodle was, where is she? What is going on? Why is she not noticing any of this?
Okay, is it possible, and I know you've probably got it in your notes here, but is it possible, I'm just casting an idea, is it possible that maybe Nancy was just living her own life, and the reason she didn't divorce him is because it just, everything was... he wasn't around, so it didn't matter anyway.
But he was around. That's the weird thing. He would go do these things and come back home. He did a lot of traveling salesman work. And so he did do a lot of traveling, but when he was home, he was just the doting father. He was the good father. He was the great father.
Scoutmaster,
a Sunday school, baseball coach. He was, it just baffles me how he could be this completely dark, sadistic murderer and then come home at night and everything be fine. He's not the only serial killer that's been this way.
Yeah.
BTK, who I'll cover at some point, was that way.
Yeah.
But anyway,
well, okay. So it's like Superman and Clark Kent, right? Superman is Superman. He's Kal-El, right? His disguise
is Clark Kent.
It's not the other way around.
Right.
maybe that's the thing. This guy is a dark, sadistic, torturous, horrible human being. And the disguise is the upstanding citizen. That's why he has to be so upstanding. That's why he has to have the mayor's office throw him a yay, what a great guy party, because he's got to build that cover.
If you want an absolute brilliant comparison of Superman and Clark Kent, watch Kill Bill Volume 2. David Carradine. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have.
Where David Carradine talks about
Superman thinks humans are idiots.
Yes, and that it's brilliant. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to tail off on that. So Nancy said that John actually played an important life in the lives of his children and actively participated in all their activities.
Except for the 7 years he was in prison.
Well, and she said that when John served time in prison, the children would visit him and their relationship remained strong.
Wow.
So, he's admitting, I embezzled money. I'm kind of a little bit of a dirtbag, but,
Doesn't mean I don't love my kids.
Yeah. And she also didn't know about the murders. Nancy did say that John brought Tiffany home and Nancy bathed her because she was dirty and she smelled. She said that John told her the baby's name was Tiffany and that he arranged for them to be adopted by his brother and sister-in-law.
Okay. Well, there you go. And he was working with, working with those people. So that tracks. Okay. I'm with you.
Nancy did admit during the trial that she knew her husband was interested in sadistic sex and that he had had numerous affairs during the entire marriage. So she knew.
Yeah. She just didn't know he was killing people.
No, she said she came close to leaving him twice. There was really no information on the first time, but the second time was when she found out about the affair with Isabella. So the one he bought the engagement ring for and actually bought a marriage certificate for, didn't go back. She said she usually found out about the affairs after they were over.
Okay. And
she stayed with John because she did not want to hurt her children or the grandchildren, because we've gone through a time where these kids have now grown up.
Yeah, that's pawpaw. That's not.
In 2006, Heather Robinson, formerly Tiffany Stassi, filed a civil suit against Truman Medical Center in Kansas City and against the social worker Karen Gaddis.
Yeah.
The suit accused Karen Gaddis of putting John in contact with Lisa Stassi and her newborn daughter in 1984 after John told Karen he ran the charitable organization providing assistance to, quote, unwed mothers of white babies.
Okay.
Hated that.
Yeah.
Heather reached a settlement with the hospital in 2007 that she said she would split with her biological grandmother, so Lisa's mother.
Yeah.
She won a second judgment in 2007 preventing John from ever profiting from any future potential book sales or film rights.
Nice.
Kansas and Missouri police note that long stretches of John Robinson's time remain unaccounted for, and they fear there are additional undiscovered victims.
Victims and murders and, yeah.
One investigator said, quote, he's maintained the secrets about what he's done with the women. He won't ever tell. It's the last control that he's got. There are probably other barrels waiting to be opened and other barrels waiting to be found.
Right on.
John Edward Robinson, now 77 years old, remains on death row to this day at the El Dorado Correctional Facility in Kansas, where he continues attempting to appeal his death sentence. And that's the tale of the internet's first serial killer.
Well, I'm glad this piece of crap is rotting away in a small cell.
Me too.
I do not feel for this dude one iota.
No.
Oh, you know what? Maybe as a kid.
Sure. You absolutely feel because, we once again, we go to someone who was abused and was it this abuse that turned them into what they become?
Yeah.
Which most likely, yes.
Yeah.
There's probably a 99.99% chance that this, I do not believe a serial killer is born.
No.
I believe a serial killer is made.
Yes.
And it's made because of something traumatic that has happened in their lives that twists them. I mean, granted, yes, there's a mental state that they may be born with.
Yeah.
But I just think that key that you have to turn to become a serial killer from a not serial killer comes from abuse. some severe head trauma.
Head trauma.
Right.
Yeah. We've found that a lot.
Right. We've changed something within their mental makeup that created them.
Yeah. Either physically or it's either a hardware or a software issue.
Yeah. We've had some where there was nothing really in their life that pointed to it. But there has to be.
Yeah.
There just has to be somewhere. I just...
like the kid in Sugarland. Yeah, I don't...
Well, because there was no abuse. There was no... But they said on his that...
Oh, there was something wrong with him.
It was undue pressure. They did say that he was a sociopath.
Yeah.
And maybe...
And it went untreated because it was earlier on that someone had diagnosed him with that when he got dropped out... got caught doing something at school.
Yeah, he got kicked out of school, and then he ended up going to a Christian school, and that's where he started seeing a therapist.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know earlier in life, was there a head trauma? Mm-hmm.
Was there abuse that no one talked about? Maybe not from the parents, but from someone else.
Right. And don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying if you abuse a child or if there's head trauma, they're going to become a serial killer. Mm-mm. There are cases of people who come out the other side of that. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, if you want to ensure,
don't beat your kids.
Don't beat your kids.
Don't beat your kids.
That's a definite way you could pretty much avoid a lot of that.
If you really want to help society out, don't beat your kids.
Right.
Just don't do it.
I mean, that's a good idea anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
What I don't know. But thanks for going on that ride with me.
Well, thank you, sir. That was a lot of fun.
I appreciate it.
I like that one. Yeah, that was interesting. That was a long ride. It was from the 60s up through just a few years ago. So
yeah, and that's why they think there's probably more out there.
Right on.
May turn up over time. So that takes us to the end of this week.
Sweet.
Just as a reminder, everybody, please do go to our website, nerderymurdery.com. There you can find our contact information as well as the links to all of our social media. We have some pictures out there, plus you can get our links and pictures from all the shows.
Yes.
For every episode, we have our blog, which we do try to update. And make sure that you do reach out to us if you have anything you want us to cover from the nerdery side or the murdery side.
Yes,
we
please.
already have some requests, and we're working on fulfilling those requests now.
Yes, we are.
You can contact either one of us. You can contact William. Excuse me. Oh, I've lost myself here. Hold on. Blah, blah, blah. You can also find our Patreon, link to our Patreon on our site as well. If you want to support the show, please do consider supporting the show to help us out, keep us going.
Please and thank you.
Yes, please and thank you. And as always, please do leave reviews where you can. It really, really helps us. Mm-hmm. We're very, very thankful to all of you who have left reviews so far. Help increase our viewership for people who may not know about us, find us when they do searches. So
plus we want to get better.
Yeah, sure.
We improve where we can.
Absolutely. So with that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery,
and I'm Geoffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.